Now, for some of you that are listening, you may have not at this point discovered what your unique model is going to be for trading. And that's good. That's fine. There's no rush. This is a very important stage of your development because many students, not just mine, but anyone really that takes on the endeavor of trying to learn how to trade and speculate in these markets, they rush. And that tendency to feel impatient, it's overwhelming. It feels like if you don't do it right now, you're going to miss out entirely. And everybody else is at the party having fun, and you want to get there. Much like it was probably when you were younger and you were the last one to show up to the party. Your friends were waiting on you, and you would speed and run red lights and drive recklessly just to get there, just to find out that you really didn't miss anything yet. All the while incurring increased risks of damaging your own personal property and other people's property, and maybe your own and other people's lives and health. Well, in trading is no different, because there's two main motivators in this world: sex and money. They are the two strongest influences over the human mind. And while I'm not going to be talking about sex in this podcast, I'm going to be talking about the influence of money and how it affects your ability to trust a model and how we can master it so that way you can trust knowing your model will deliver. One of the things that permeates the industry in terms of our community, we come across as a bunch of braggarts, a bunch of snooty individuals thinking that, we have what works and everything else doesn't work. It's superior to everything else, but there are other ways to make money. And the secret to making money is managing it well. Because as long as you don't risk too much and you stay in the game long enough, you can be profitable. I don't like that way of thinking. It just sounds like surviving. And I don't like the idea of promoting the idea that you should be thankful you just made it out alive in any trading day. And for some of you, perhaps most of you, probably feel that's exactly what it feels like when you endure a trading session and you get out without blowing your account. You get out without having a major drawdown, or get out with taking a loss at all, just getting the costs of commission covered. And you dodge that bullet. If you feel that way, if you apply what I'm going to talk about today, you'll be far less likely to feel that again. They're all normal things. They're all characteristics of a developing trader. But many times that developing trader wants to go out there too quickly, ill-prepared to navigate the financial storms that these markets can create. The first topic I want to touch on is impatience. I kind of mentioned it briefly in the opening here, but I think that largely this is the biggest hurdle in front of every trader. When I first started talking about Forex in Baby Pips forum, one of the first things I mentioned to anyone that would be willing to listen or read what it was I was sharing is you're going to need a lot of patience. And for the old hats in here that have been with me since then, that's true. I said you're going to require a lot of patience, and either you're going to forge it, not fake it. You're going to forge it. You're going to create it. It's going to be made manifest in you because of putting in your due diligence of learning how to sit still. When you're not ready to do anything, you have to remain still. One of the things I found interesting living at the house I'm at now, we have little groups of deer that frequently come out and in the early morning and in the late evening, they'll come out. Sometimes they're 15, 20 strong. And they have these little ones that come with them. And whenever they see something, the smallest of them immediately drop down. You can't see them hardly. What are they doing? Remaining still. Why? Because they don't have the knowledge. They don't have the experience. They don't have the plan of action to do anything to protect themselves. And to be honest with you, I don't know if it's by instinct. I don't know if it's taught to them by their parent. But it's a skill set that every one of you, as a fawn, a little tiny little fledgling trader, needs to learn and be comfortable being still. It's safe. It's absolutely safe. In the market, it can't bite you until you get in there. On the sidelines, the only thing that's hurting you is your pride and your ego that you didn't do something. But many times it tricks you thinking that you really knew what you were doing. But really, if you were honest, did you tell anybody in advance? Was it public knowledge that you thought it was going to do this very thing, go only this low, then go up to that very high? And that entire run, you wouldn't have any adversities or any kind of anxiety? You're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself. And I see many people, even in my own community here, that are brand new that do that kind of stuff. You see it permeated in the industry across social media. Everybody knew it was going to do something after it happened. And when you talk like that and you really didn't believe that was happening, you didn't believe it was really in the chart, you weren't one-sided in your analysis, what you're creating is this overwhelming sense of impatience, because what's going to happen is you're going to trick yourself by lying like that you're ready to trade. One day, something's going to happen, and you're going to feel like you need to do something to change the way you feel about your life, your present circumstance. And you're going to go in there and try to press a button, and the results are not going to be favorable because of impatience. How do you overcome impatience? Well, it stems from a lack of experience. Experience in the sense that, number one, you have to know how these markets can hurt you. Obviously, it goes without saying that if you're wrong, you lose money. But you have to have the experience knowing who you are. That's the first step. And all of the things I put you through, that's the first thing you're trying to discover. Who you are as a person. What makes you tick? What makes you think? What makes you want to take a trade? What's occurring in your mind at a time when you think that there's something going on in that chart? That's the biggest hurdle. Every single person that's ever going to amount to anything as a trader, profitable, consistently profitable, wildly profitable, the central tenet to all of them is they know themselves very well, and they know how they will derail themselves. And it's not a comfortable or popular topic when I talk on it, but it's paramount. It wasn't until I understood how I could unravel myself. Doesn't matter how many gizmos and things I can see in price action. If I'm miswired, if I'm off center, like I feel now, which is why I'm doing these. If I do this, it kind of allows me to discharge instead of going into the market and trade. Yeah, I made pretty good yesterday trading, but I wish I wouldn't have done it. I'll say that again. I wish I would not have traded yesterday. I broke a rule yesterday. And while I left with something, the win doesn't outweigh the fact that I know that I did not follow my rules. And I feel guilty. I feel like my hands are dirty. And in some ways, part of this Twitter space or X space. What do we call it now? It's something of a confessional. I've been doing this for a long, long time, and I am a human being. I have emotions. I have a family, and my oldest boy has recently hurt himself, and I'm wrestling with a lot of different emotions. Fear. I'm anxious about him getting through the last stages of his healing. I'm angry at him for not wearing a helmet. And I went into the market yesterday and I wanted to do something. In fact, I told you yesterday, I want to do it, but I shouldn't. But I moved to the part of the house where nothing could distract me. And I gave the devil idle hands. And idle hands, well, you know what they say. They'll find trouble. And thankfully, it worked out in my favor yesterday, but I wish I wouldn't have done it. Now, as a mentor, as an educator, as a teacher, I want you to know that I'm prone to do those things. And you think that I'm a saint with patience. I'm one of the most impatient people. I have very, 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 very small patience. But I have to work very hard to be patient as an educator. So when you wrestle with it, just know that it's not just you. I do too. Everyone else doesn't. Everybody says they don't are liars. It's liberating when you're honest. It's liberating when you come to terms with the fact that what makes you impatient is the very lack of experience and the experience of knowing how you are going to think. How will you respond to that stimuli when you see that market move a particular way, fast up, fast down, or consolidated? One of the weirdest things you're going to encounter is you'll think when the market's being held in consolidation, you feel like you're going to know how it's going to break out. And you start anticipating, yeah, I think it's going to go up there. How do you know that? How do you know that? You just started. Do you have a journal, a track record of you trading with that idea, that insight, and it works? Or are you just thinking impulsively about what you may expect in price or what you would like to see, and you're projecting your will on price in a time of ignorance as a developing student? And I don't mean that to be derogatory. I mean in terms of the lack of your understanding, the lack of your ability. That is a state of ignorance, and everyone had that in the beginning. But you have to know that you have zero or very little experience when you first start. And the experience mostly is about knowing what you're going to do that causes you to react. I'll give you a couple of scenarios. If the market runs real quick, as soon as you sit down in front of the charts and you're expecting something to happen, or you join a community, or you're in a Discord channel, or you're among a number of other people that are sharing openly what their opinions are about the marketplace or one particular market, and you're watching it. If you're brand new, and I know this is going to feel like me kicking sand in a lot of faces of people that are trying to start communities or have a community, but I really want you to be honest, okay? And think about this and apply it to yourself. Even if whatever this community is, if it's free or if it's by pay wall, know what you're paying to be a part of it, you're actually conditioning yourself to be responsive to a collective mindset that may not be all that in tune with what really is going to happen in the marketplace. In layman's terms, you're hanging around in a mob and you're thinking only based on what the collective mob mentality is going to say about that market. And if you've never paid attention to it, just watch and see how the ones that come out openly and say, yeah, I think the market's going to go up. I think the market's going to go down. That's why I love going into the handful of live streamers I like watching. And this is the only reason why I like watching it. I want to see what their audience thinks about the marketplace. I want to see how the sentiment shifts in their chat window if they make it available. Or I want to hear how they themselves, the presenters, think. If they start talking very dogmatic about how they know it's going to go up there, it's just going to have to do this. And if I see a setup, I know I got a 99% likelihood I'm going to make money there. And that sounds arrogant. That sounds condescending. It sounds ignorant to say something like that to some of you, but it's the honest truth. I'm not watching other YouTubers to learn anything. I want to see what a retail trader's mindset is about the market at the very time I'm anticipating my algorithm to spool a specific direction. And that's it. Some of them are entertaining to watch. But if you're part of a community like that, or a Discord or Telegram or whatever it is that you're a part of, and you don't know how to trade, you don't have a model, you don't know what you're doing, the absolute worst thing you could ever do to stifle your proper development is to be part of a group of people that are going to inspire you to do things many times after the fact. Everybody in the room will come to the consensus that, oh yeah, this market's going up after it starts running. I'm not saying there won't be rock stars amongst the community that generally get it right here and there. But what you're actually doing is you're conditioning yourself and building the wrong kind of experience. You're looking for a hand-holding experience versus how I'm teaching you. You're going to walk alone.